Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into Jay Shetty's bestseller, Think Like a Monk. We're going to unpack how some really ancient wisdom can, believe it or not, completely change how we navigate our crazy modern lives.
It's a pretty wild thought, isn't it? That the answers to our biggest problems today, like stress and anxiety and feeling a bit lost, they aren't hiding in some new app. They're in wisdom that's been around for thousands of years. But let's be real for a second. The idea of learning from a monk can feel, well, a little out there.
So this was the exact question going through Jay Shetty's head when he was an 18-year-old business student in London. I mean, this guy was all about chasing success, right? He was listening to CEOs, celebrities, people who had done things in the world. A monk in a saffron robe? Yeah, that just wasn't part of the plan. But a friend talked him into it, and that one talk, it completely changed everything for him.
He was just blown away. The monk speaking had actually given up what was basically an MIT-level education in India to live a life of service. So Shetty started living this double life. He'd be interning at big consulting firms, and then he'd spend all his holidays living in an ashram in India with monks. And the corporate world just started to feel hollow. So after graduation, he made a choice that absolutely shocked his friends and family. He traded his suits for robes and became a full-time monk.
So how do we actually start thinking this way? Well, here's our roadmap. We're going to follow the 3 core stages of a monk's journey. First, letting go. Second, growing. And third, giving. We'll look at why this whole thing matters in the first place, and then we'll wrap up with how to actually make it a part of your daily life.
All right, so first things first, why think like a monk? It's actually pretty simple. If you want to play basketball, you learn from Michael Jordan, right? If you want to innovate, you study someone like Elon Musk. So if you want to train your mind for peace, for calm, and for purpose, you learn from the absolute experts, monks. They are basically the Olympians of mental strength. Most of us live with what ancient texts call the monkey mind. It's just constantly swinging from one thought to the next, driven by ego, anxiety, what other people think. It's chaotic. The goal is to cultivate a monk mind, which is the total opposite. It's intentional, it's about detachment, finding your purpose, being focused, and building a life around service, not just yourself. So the very first step on this path isn't about adding something new. It's actually about removing what's already there. Think of it like a mental decluttering, a deep clean to make space for real growth. This is such a great metaphor from Shetty's teacher. Our true self, our core values, who we really are, it's like a mirror. But over time, that mirror gets covered in layers of dust. The dust of other people's opinions, of society's expectations, of what the media tells us we should be. We literally can't see ourselves clearly until we start wiping all that dust away. So how do we actually do that? Well, here's a really practical 3-step process. First, you filter out the noise. You start questioning all those opinions and expectations you've just soaked up over the years. Second, you audit your values. Ask yourself, are these values really mine, or did I just borrow them from someone else? And finally, you learn to detach from fear, to see it not as a wall stopping you, but as a compass pointing you where you need to grow. Monks are actually trained to spot, stop, and swap these 3 really negative habits. Think about it. When we're constantly comparing ourselves to others, we lose track of our own path. When we complain just for the sake of it, we're just draining our own energy. And when we criticize other people, well, that often says more about our own insecurities than it does about them. The whole practice is to catch these thoughts and then consciously replace them with gratitude, with purpose, and with compassion. This chart just perfectly captures the battle between ego and self-esteem. Your ego is super fragile. It's like paper armor. It always needs to prove itself. It needs everyone to like you. But true self-esteem, that's resilient. It's not about proving, it's about expressing who you are. It's open to learning from anyone, and honestly, it's okay if some people don't like you. Okay, so once you've done the hard work of clearing away all that dust, you've got this beautiful, clean slate. Now comes the exciting part. The next stage is to consciously rebuild your life, not based on all that external noise, but on your own deep internal sense of purpose. And the key concept here is something called Dharma. Now, this isn't just about what you're passionate about, and it's not just what you're good at. Dharma is that magic spot where those 2 things intersect. And then you use that combination to serve other people. It's that incredible feeling you get when you're using your unique gifts to make a real difference in the world. This little quadrant chart is a great way to figure out where you're spending most of your time. A lot of us get stuck in quadrant 1, right? It's our job, something we're good at but maybe don't love. We all have quadrant 3 stuff, chores, and quadrant 4 is where our hobbies live. The real goal, though, is to move the center of our life toward quadrant 2. That's your dharma, that sweet spot where what you love and what you're good at come together. There's this amazing ancient analogy from the Upanishads that explains how to do this. Picture this, your 5 senses, sight, sound, touch, they're like wild horses, always trying to pull you toward distractions and impulses. Your mind is holding the reins, trying to control them. But it's your intellect, the charioteer, that has to be awake and in control. Because if the charioteer is asleep at the wheel, those wild horses are going to run wild and pull your whole life off course. And this brings us to the final, and maybe the most powerful stage of the whole journey. After we've cleared the dust and started to find our purpose, the path to the deepest kind of joy isn't inward, it's actually outward. It's all about gratitude and serving others. Gratitude isn't just some fluffy, feel-good idea. It is a seriously powerful state of being. The research is clear. It literally rewires your brain. It lowers stress. It improves your physical health. It completely shifts your focus from what you're lacking to what you already have. Monks start every single day with gratitude, just thanking the earth for giving them ground to walk on and air to breathe. And service is the ultimate tool for getting perspective. Think about your pain like it's a handful of salt. If you put that salt into a small glass of water, the water becomes bitter and undrinkable. But if you dissolve that same handful of salt in a huge lake, you can't even taste it. Service is what turns your little glass into a vast lake. By focusing on helping other people, your own problems start to feel so much smaller and more manageable. So you see, service isn't entirely selfless. In a way, it's one of the most powerful things we can do for ourselves. It gives us perspective, it creates this positive feedback loop of love and kindness, and it connects us to something way bigger than our own day-to-day worries. In the end, serving others actually heals you. Now, it's really tempting to look at all these stages and see them as a checklist, right? Okay, done with that, on to the next. But thinking like a monk isn't a one-time thing. It's a commitment. It's a daily, moment-to-moment practice. Ultimately, this isn't about reaching some magical finish line called enlightenment. Life itself is the final exam. The monk mindset is really just a commitment to always be learning, always be growing. It's like you don't mow the lawn once and expect it to stay perfect forever, right? You have to consistently train your mind in the same way. And that brings us to the end of our explainer. We've talked about letting go of the noise, finding our true purpose, and discovering the incredible joy of service. This ancient wisdom is really profound, but it's only powerful if you actually use it. So the real question I want to leave you with is this: what is the one small thing you will do today to start practicing?